Howdy, folks. I'm Hiccuping Hickory, hardly heralding historical heroes.
I'm Amber.
And here are more hysterical heroes for us to herald in. But they're also historical. So let's get started before they are more hysterical on us. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Attend My Sister's Silent Wedding Because She is Forcing Everyone to Communicate Using ASL When None of Us Know It? I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I need to know if I'm being ridiculous here. I'm a 34-year-old male, and my sister is a 31-year-old female, and she is getting married in 2 months, and she decided to have a silent wedding, which means no one is allowed to speak during the entire wedding. Instead, she expects all 200 plus guests to communicate using American Sign Language the entire day, but literally no one in my family knows ASL. Now, my sister is not deaf, nor is her fiancé, nor are any of the immediate family members. She just thought that it would be unique and intimate to force us all to learn a completely new language for her wedding. Her exact words were, "It's more inclusive for the deaf community." Reminder, no one in the wedding party is deaf. I told her this is absolutely absurd, and that she can't expect hundreds of people to learn a new language just for one day of her life. She got furious and said that I'm ruining her vision and I'm being ableist by refusing to participate. I told her that this isn't about ableism, it's the fact that none of us can communicate in ASL, and that her wedding will basically be 200 people sitting around silently confused, and she says that we have plenty of time to learn the basics though. But I am a busy adult with a full-time job, a family, and I don't know, hobbies that don't involve learning an entire new language for someone else's Instagram clout. When I told her that I might not even come, she didn't ease up on the ASL rule and said that I'm being selfish and not supportive of her groundbreaking idea. My parents are on her side, of course, because they think that it's cute and creative, and they've already started practicing the alphabet as if that's going to be enough. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm living in some kind of unhinged dystopian reality where everyone is pretending that this is a normal request for a wedding. Am I losing my mind here? Alright, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I do not like why the sister is doing this. Like, if she or her partner or someone at the wedding was deaf, I think including them is important.
Yep.
But what she's doing is not inclusive. It's one thing to have someone there to interpret sign language, but to expect all the guests to just learn an entire new language for the wedding makes it inaccessible to most of the people.
Yeah.
And this isn't like someone who's been in the family a long time and everyone's just blown off learning sign language or something like that. There's no one, it sounds like, at the wedding who would benefit from this. It's literally just for some weird, appropriative Instagram thing.
Yeah, so to me, the biggest problem I have here is that this is performative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing this as a performance of what a disability is, right? And so without there being people who are, hearing impaired at the wedding, then, it doesn't come across as sincerely understanding or knowing anything about the, deaf community, and it just kind of romanticizes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's treating it like it's some thing to seek, right? When it's a tool that allows people with a disability to communicate. And I think that this is really kind of different from, learning High Valerian or Klingon or any other thing, because it's not, because people in those kind of groups, they're involved in the culture, right? They're enmeshed in this culture and they're bringing some part of that culture to their ceremony. Whereas OP is kind of treating this as almost like that fandom, right? Where they're like, oh, look, I'm being inclusive and I'm being, all these things as kind of like a fandom of the deaf community as opposed to actually knowing and understanding the community. And she's just treating it as a giant performance.
Yeah. Well, and again, because we had a wedding, this was a very long time ago, where OP and her partner, I think, were both deaf.
Yep.
And they were going to be doing their vows in sign language.
Mm-hmm.
And her parents were furious about this because they had never bothered to learn sign language.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very different situation, because it's their language. They want to have a wedding in their language, and that's fine. Whereas the sister, this isn't even a language she's fluent in. She's something that she's just picking up, like you said, as a performance for the aesthetics Like, it just feels really icky.
Yeah, so that's my biggest problem here. I think that it would be really great if they actually had people who were, hearing impaired at the wedding and that benefited from a, interpreter. But I feel like it kind of goes against the spirit of inclusivity that, ASL has by excluding everyone who doesn't understand or isn't able to use that tool.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between having part of the ceremony and expecting in ASL and then expecting everyone to just be silent the entire time if you can't use ASL.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, in this other story I was talking about, it wasn't like no one could speak, unless they were using ASL. It was just, their vows, part of the ceremony. They were doing an ASL.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's fair to, stop people from speaking in their native tongue entirely for an event and expect them to just sit there and do nothing if they can't speak whatever the language of the ceremony is.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, I took a shower at midnight while my wife was watching TV. Who's in the wrong? My wife was sitting in the recliner watching her iPad right outside of the kid's bedroom. I figured that I'm in the clear to take a long shower. When I turn the shower off, I hear my 3-year-old crying and screaming for daddy. I hurry. As I'm going through my family room, I look at my wife, still watching her iPad, and I say, "You gonna calm him down?" And she says, "No, I tried 3 times. So I go into his room and I pick him up. He immediately stops crying and starts trying to catch his breath. I feel what I thought were tears dripping down my shoulder. I think the poor guy's so upset for so long enough for my wife to come in 3 times. I lay him in bed and I start tucking him in. He says I have a mess. I figure tears and snot. So I grab the wipes and the tissues and I turn on the flashlight on my phone when I realize that he's covered in blood. His first bloody nose, and it was bad. All over his face, his arms, his clothes, his stuffy blanket, and I'm covered in it. Those were not tears dripping down my shoulder. I get him cleaned up, and I ask my wife to put shout on the bloody items while I get him cleaned up. I'm tucking him in, and I ask why he didn't let Mommy help. He said, "Mommy didn't check on me. Somebody never checked on me." Now my wife is mad at me for expecting her to help. I'm mad at her for not taking care of our son while I was in the shower, and she was watching her iPad. And I'm mad that she's mad that I expected her to help. So who is in the wrong here? Alright folks, what do you think?
The wife's in the wrong here. I mean, it seems like OP couldn't hear the child over the shower, but as soon as he knew the child was in trouble, he was out of there to help.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a kid who is crying and you're a parent, it is your responsibility to take care of said child. It's horrible that you just let him lie there crying when she was right outside the door and could hear him.
I think that if this is a pattern of behavior, that he should consider divorce.
Absolutely.
I think that the priority of every parent is to keep their child safe. And I do not feel like the wife was in a position where she was keeping the child safe here, right?
Right. Well, you're absolutely right. Because, what if it had been something worse than a bloody nose? She had no way of knowing what was going on with the kid because she didn't check on him. And I wondered, too, because the kid was crying, "Daddy, Daddy," if Daddy is always the one who checks on the kids.
Yeah.
Because kids will often have one parent who tends to them more or than the other, and that will be the parent they call for by default.
Yeah. So I think that this is a really terrible situation for the kid, and I really am worried about the kid's safety when it comes to a negligent parent like this, right? So this does feel like neglect to me.
Oh,
right?
It absolutely is, because she was within hearing distance. She
Yeah.
was literally right outside the door.
And I just don't know how she would be able to sit and listen to a kid cry like that and not try to help them. And I guess the trust is lost too, right? Because either the kid doesn't remember correctly, or she lied about checking on them 3 times to help getting them settled down, right? And maybe she didn't expect the kid to be, have a bloody nose, but
if your kid is crying, it's still important to check on them.
Yeah.
Unless you know why they're crying, oh, they're upset I put them in timeout.
yeah.
If a kid starts crying in the middle of the night for apparently no reason, you gotta go see what's going on.
Yeah. So I think that maybe she needs some therapy, and maybe this is just like a breaking moment for her. Maybe something else is going on, But this just feels very neglectful to me, and I don't have warm fuzzies about her being left alone with a child at this point in time.
Yeah, same.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Turmeric Ping says, not the jerk. Your wife is the jerk. You're both parents. Even if she thought that you would be checking on him when you didn't, she should have gone and checked. She should have wanted to. I can't imagine sitting and watching a movie while my child cried and thought that that wasn't my problem. And the fact that she lies to you, she knows that she should be ashamed of her behavior. And she's right. What she did was borderline abusive. And Raven says, sounds like OP's wife is more of a child than his 3-year-old. Too engrossed in her iPad to check on our crying child, and then has the audacity to throw a temper tantrum over being called out for being a bad parent. The nerve of some people, I swear. And the Polly Poet says, not the jerk. The biggest issue for me is lying. At the very least, she could have been honest that she didn't go in. But it's profoundly messed up to think that she didn't want to check on him. She's treating the idea of checking in on her kid as the same way a part-time cashier would have treated mopping the floor when it was supposedly their coworker's turn to do it. It isn't a job that she gets to clock out of. She has to be present and show up at all times. And if you were in the shower and you couldn't hear them crying, then it was definitely her chance to act. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Babysit My Niece and Nephew Every Weekend? I'm a 32-year-old male, and I love my sister Hannah, a 35-year-old female, and her kids, a 5-year-old male and a 3-year-old female. I've always been the fun uncle, and have happily agreed when Hannah has asked me to babysit one Saturday so that she and her husband Jake could go on to a much-needed date. The kids were great, and I didn't mind helping out. But the next weekend, they asked again, and then the next. What started as one Saturday has now turned into me babysitting both Saturday and Sunday every weekend. They drop the kids off at 9 a.m. and pick them up at 7 p.m. That's 2 days of childcare, no pay, no food brought for the kids, no consideration for my time. I work full-time during the week, so my weekends are my only time to relax, hang out with friends, or get things done. I finally told Hannah that I couldn't babysit one weekend because I had made plans with friends. She got upset, saying that I don't understand how hard it is for her and Jake to maintain their relationship and that their marriage was struggling. She implied that my refusal could help make things worse between them, which made me feel really guilty. She said that I was being selfish and that I should step up as family. I tried to compromise by offering to babysit once or twice a month, but Hannah said that wasn't enough. She said that since I don't have any kids, I don't understand the stress that they're under, that they need this time for their relationship to survive. Now both Hannah and Jake are upset with me, and even my parents are weighing in, saying that I should just help out for the sake of family. The thing is that I do want to help, but I feel that my time is being taken for granted. I love my niece and nephew, but I need my weekends back too. I never agreed to be their full-time nanny, and I'm starting to feel burned out from constantly giving up on my plans. I'm torn because I understand the need for a break, but I also feel like it's unfair to expect me to give up my entire weekend, every weekend, indefinitely. Am I the jerk for refusing to babysit every weekend and wanting to set boundaries with my sister? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. You did not choose to bring these children into this world. It's unfortunate that the sister and her husband are feeling stressed and burned out, but that does not mean that they are entitled to your free labor.
Yeah.
Like, Opie has been beyond generous. And even agreeing to take them once or twice a month is a huge, sacrifice on his part. You know, he's giving up his entire day on those days, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so, it's if the mom and dad want to help because family helps family, they can step up and start taking over. But I think they understand on some level how unreasonable it is, which is why they're not volunteering themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think OP should make up a schedule for anyone who is jumping in on the parent's side here, like that one person did. So basically just set up a schedule and be like, okay, well now you can babysit on these days of the week as well, so thanks for volunteering.
Yeah, because it's not reasonable to have to give up your entire weekend every weekend to watch someone else's child.
Yeah. And so maybe OP should bring in some other siblings as well. I mean, I don't know. I think that OP isn't being selfish here. I think that if anyone's being selfish, it's OP's sister and Jake.
Yeah.
And they're basically getting a whole weekend off every single weekend away from kids.
Well, and the blackmail too about how emotional blackmail of like, well, our marriage is struggling. If you don't take the kids every weekend, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
If your marriage is failing, then like it's your responsibility to work on it. But like, you can't just get rid of your kids because they're an inconvenience.
Yeah. You have to be a present parent all the time.
Yeah, and it's one thing to want an evening out every now and again, maybe a day every now and again. It's not reasonable to expect your sibling to take them all day, Saturday and Sunday, every weekend.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Knock, knock.
I'm sorry, I can't answer the door. I'm in a shower.
Knock, knock.
Sorry, still in the shower.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Roach.
The roaches do not get to go into the shower.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Roach.
Roach who?
Wrote you a text. Have you gotten it yet?
No, I'm in the shower. And I have Earl Grey. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Fantastic Friday, folks. I hope your Friday is off to an amazing start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on parenting.
Parenting is a full-time responsibility. If you're not prepared for that responsibility, then maybe don't have kids.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!